Saturday, March 24th, 1984. Shermer High School, Shermer, Illinois. 60062. Dear Mr. Vernon, we accept the fact that we had to sacrifice a whole Saturday in detention for whatever it was we did wrong. What we did was wrong. But we think you're crazy to make us write an essay telling you who we think we are. What do you care? And you see us as you want to see us. In the simplest terms, the most convenient definitions. You see us as a brain, an athlete, a basket case, a princess, and a criminal. Correct? That's the way we saw each other at 7 o'clock this morning. We were brainwashed.
Sword of omens, give me sight beyond sight.
Greetings, Starfighter. You have been recruited by the Star League to defend the frontier against Zur and the Kodan Armada. Get ready. Prepare for blast-off.
Hey, Doc, we better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Remember, no matter where you go, there you are.
This is 80's Reboot Overdrive podcast.
We were dancing just like Swayze when Jennifer Grey had a nose. Oh, how I miss the 80s, but I'm too young to really know. Too young to know.
Oh my god. That is like so dated.
Hello, this is 80's Reboot Overdrive, and I am Dave. And online today, I have got 80's Auto Reverse Scott.
Hi, everybody. Good to be back.
And 80's Music Girl Rose. Rose? Hello, Rose? She dropped.
Are you kidding me?
She dropped! Just as we did the intro. That was like my most enthusiastic intro ever.
It was a good one. It's very well
Great.
done. Oh, she's there.
Oh, she's gone now. Call dropped.
She came back and then she's gone.
Bueller?
Anyone?
Oh, now she's completely gone. Oh, now she's back.
Wow. You know, did you hear what I said? I feel like a zombie. I just keep dying. Keep coming back.
The Walking Dead.
Yeah, really, writing did actually.
All right.
Sequel.
All right, so introduce yourself, Rose.
Hi, this is Rose, 80's Music Girl. How's it going?
Sweet. All right, so let's do our intro here. We've got the number 5 of our 80's Icon Breakfast Club series. This is our final episode in this series, so I'm kind of excited to talk about this one. Saved it for last because I'm just a fan of Anthony Michael Hall as far as what he represents in the whole John Hughes universe. So I've kind of saved him for last because I just really dig his stuff. First off, we're going to talk through his filmography. 1980, he was in a TV series called the ABC Weekend Specials. 1981, another TV series called CBS Libraries. 1982, Rascals and Robbers, The Secret Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn, which is a TV movie. 1982, movie called Six Pack. And I think, Scott, you and I, we kind of geeked out about that movie before.
Yeah, with Diane Lane.
Yes.
On that episode, yes.
Yep. So 1983, Running Out, TV movie. 1983 as Mr. Rusty Griswold in National Lampoon's Vacation. 1984, 16 Candles. 1985, Breakfast Club. 1985, Weird Science. Through 1985 and 1986, he was on Saturday Night Live. 1986, Out of Bounds. 1988, Johnny Be Good. And that wraps up his 80ness. So plenty of good stuff there from Mr. Anthony Michael Hall. We are going to start with Scott. What is your favorite 80s moment with Anthony?
It's a very short scene in Vacation when they go off the jump and wreck the car, and he and Chevy Chase are sitting off in the distance, and Chevy brings over a beer, and he's sitting there. He sips the beer real gently, and he's talking to him about having, I remember when my dad gave me my first drink of beer, and as Chevy's talking, Anthony Michael Hall takes it and just starts chugging it. he just slams the beer and lets out this gigantic belch, and it's great. It's just one of those scenes that always stands out when I think of Anthony Michael Hall. That just jumps out at me. So that's one of my favorite moments.
Oh, so, that was a very good scene.
Yes, funny stuff. I could mention so many more, though. I mean, I could go on and on. I love Anthony Michael Hall in that era. He had a lot of good moments.
He did, but that's a good pick. My favorite moment is from 16 Candles. And the specific scene that I'm thinking of is where they're at the dance and they're trying to determine, the bet as far as being able to prove that he's going to have his way with a woman that night. And they decide to bet on floppy disks. So just that whole moment there where they're like, all right, we'll try again. And then, and then they decide, okay, floppy disks, a box of floppy disks are the bet because they cost a lot of money. And, that's the quote. And, and then they, as he's walking away, he's like, then they're like, all right, well, you've got to prove it. And, so he's like, okay, well, we need underpants. And he's like, all right, no problem. And then he starts walking away and they're like, girls underpants. Yeah. And then you just see that look on his face. It's like, ah. So you just knew that, his move later on was going to be, I'll just give them my underpants and say, okay, well, she removed them.
Yeah.
Nice. But I so relate to a lot of his characters in Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, because I gotta admit, I was the geek. I was the captain of the chess team. And so there's a lot of the characteristics of Mr. Anthony Michael Hall that I can relate to. I wish I could have built Kelly LeBrock with my computer, but that never happened. But yeah, I was a big fan.
Yeah, I like that scene too, out of 16 Candles. And there was another, I don't know if it was that one or what was that other one that he was in? He's trying to I don't think it was Weird Science when he was trying to be suave. Was that Molly Ringwald he was talking to, and he was trying to sound all suave and debonair, and he looked like an absolute weirdo when they were sitting on the bus together.
Oh, that was 16 Candles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had such amazing comedic time, and he still does. And if you've seen him in anything recently, I mean, his comedic timing is just perfect. And may I also say, I am so glad that he finally grew into his head. He always seemed like he had the biggest head. He had all this hair, and it was just like, oh my God, dude. Yeah, he's actually grown up to be quite a handsome man. So he was a very good comedic actor.
He looks so different nowadays than he did back then.
And he sounds different too.
Yeah.
Of course, he had a deep voice then, but now he just, you don't even know it's the same person because he's grown 6 inches.
Yeah, he's 6'2", so he's a pretty big guy, pretty tall guy.
Now, in 16 Candles, I mean, in the movie he was Ted, but in IMDb they list him as Geek. I never understood that.
I didn't understand that either. He actually was quite an integral part of the movie.
Right. I mean,
So,
but I mean, his name was Ted, right?
I guess.
Um,
It's not one of my
I
favorites. I mean, I'll watch it if it's on, but
I don't know. I remember I had a conversation like this before. It's been a long time, but I don't know if they ever actually confirmed that his name was Ted. I think that was somebody called him that as a like a slam or something or a joke.
Well,
I don't know. It seems there's something about that.
they called him Farmer Ted as a
Farmer
joke.
Ted.
Yeah, Farmer Ted as a joke.
Right.
But
yeah.
you know, the two geeks that he was hanging out with, you know, they had called him up after he had the prom queen, you know, and the following
Right.
morning and he's in the car, and they actually
Uh-huh.
say, you know, hey Ted, we need to find out what happened.
Did
Right.
they? I don't
Yes.
remember them
They
calling him
did.
by name. Okay.
No,
Yeah, I
one
wonder
of
why
them,
why didn't they go ahead.
one of them was John Cusack. Who was the other guy?
Oh, you're gonna make me look it up now.
I am.
All right.
Only because I can. And I got to say John Cusack.
Let me guess, one of your favorites.
Absolute all-time favorite.
Oh, right. Wow. And wait, don't tell me what movie. It's the
Okay.
Serendipity.
Oh, blech. Hell no. Gross Point Blank.
Oh,
Good
nice.
pick.
That's a good one.
Yes. Yeah, I could watch that forever.
Huh.
But he had some good stuff in the 80s too. Better Off Dead, One Crazy Summer. He
Oh
was
yeah.
in Class with, that was his first role, in Class with Andrew McCarthy and Rob Lowe.
We might have to do a show on John Cusack.
He might.
I
So,
completely concur with that idea.
Oh, cool.
and on it, yeah, that we have a lot more people that we need to talk about as far as these Brat Pack goes too, because that's not just those five.
Well, we talked
But
about doing Outsiders, so that takes precedence
Yeah.
over.
that dude, I'm all over the outside.
Yeah,
Mm.
so we've got to do that before we jump onto anyone else. But
Okay.
the Cliff was an actor named Darren Harris.
Oh, okay.
So the other guy, Bryce, which was
Okay.
John Cusack.
'Cause I don't remember seeing him in anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do remember the call and that whole night of debauchery, so to speak.
Yeah.
I actually was happy for him that he finally. It wasn't who he wanted, but I don't think he really cared who he wanted. He just wanted someone. So.
Yeah, Darren Harris has only been in 16 Candles, Weird Science, and Better Off Dead.
Really? Who did he
Yeah.
play?
In which one?
Who did he play in Better Off Dead?
Nerd number 3.
Wow.
Believe it or not, that's what it says.
Remember that.
All right, so.
It was his little brother or something.
All right, so let me do some Twitter shout-outs here. We got Big Chris at Big Chris 8089 says when Gary was drunk as a skunk chilling at Candy Bar while all the brothers in Weird Science. With all the brothers at Weird Science.
Mm-hmm.
So that was when he was talking jive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fez, man, let me tell you my story.
Not in the Family Jewels.
Yeah.
All right, so Kathy Hanny at Granny Hanny says has to be weird science, but especially when he's drunk in the bar, cigar in his mouth, etc. Ha ha ha. And then when it gets dark, I can't read that. At WIGD podcast says smoking dope with the Breakfast Club. Another little fact. Did you know the entire sharing scene was unscripted? Hashtag now you know. I appreciate that 80s reference to now you know. But yeah, actually I did know that was unscripted. So I really I admired that moment where Brian was asking, you know, what's going to happen on Monday morning. And I just keep thinking to myself, if Anthony Michael Hall and the group of the Brat Pack there that was working together came up with that dialogue, that's powerful stuff. That's very powerful of, I think we're all friends now, but what do you think is going to happen on Monday morning? And then for him to have that emotional moment where Claire's like, all right, well, I'm going to be friends to your face, but then I'm going to cut you up after you leave. And just his reaction and the emotional impact of that was,
Yeah.
that was very powerful.
Too. I cried on that too because, I've never had a conversation like that before with anybody, but I think I might have mentioned this before. Those conversations really don't happen.
They don't.
In real life. And yeah, so that kind of made me cry because it was like, yeah, that sucks. But it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, because nobody is that honest.
No, nobody is. So
all right.
That's why it's I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Mr. John Hughes.
Yeah, they're trying they're trying to say it for people that when you can't,
Yeah.
They're throwing it out there for when you can't say it, you can relate to these characters that do.
Yeah.
Say it. They kind of take your place. They're kind of your proxy, if you want to call it that. So.
Well said.
Oh, Harley.
Harley.
Is that a Harley?
Probably.
Sound like one.
All right. So, did you know that he turned down roles in Pretty in Pink and Ferris Bueller's Day Off so that he would not be typecast?
I'm so glad you brought that up because I was reading that before and I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing that he turned down Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I'm wondering if it was for Ferris or was it for Cameron?
I could see him as Cameron.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But I'm just wondering, Pretty in Pink, what is that, Ducky?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, it'd have to be because it's not Jake.
Right. Well, Pretty in Pink would have been Blaine.
Oh, Pretty in Pink. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking of 16 Candles again.
Right.
Blaine. Nah.
He wouldn't have been Blaine.
No, I couldn't see him as Blaine.
Character either.
Yeah, no way. Spader's
Steph,
no
there was
way.
only one Steph.
Yeah, he played such a good bad guy in those movies back then.
So then could you see Anthony Michael Hall as Ducky?
Possibly, but not nearly as animated, I don't think.
Yeah, John Cryer just owned that.
Yeah, he did.
Totally did.
Yeah. So, I was just reading. You mind if I bring up a little bit of this trivia?
Oh, please do.
That was on this. He was one of that. This caught me off guard. He says he was one of the 9 original members of the 80's Brat Pack. Did you know there were 9?
See what Judd, Judd Nelson, Demi Moore, Rob Lowe, Molly Ringwald, Ellie Sheedy.
Yeah.
Did I say Emilio yet?
Emilio
Estevez.
Emilio.
Who am I forgetting?
Andrew McCarthy. Did you say that?
Oh no.
And also they list Mare Winningham as one of them from, I believe she was
St. Elmo's
Fire.
Right.
So I didn't know that they kind of tagged a few more of those people in that Brat Pack. I always kind of picture it was just mainly the Breakfast Club.
Yeah, that sounds like actors. Yeah, it sounds like Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire combined.
Kind of meat, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. He auditioned for the role of Pony Boy in The Outsiders.
That I read that too, and I thought that was pretty interesting. I like that.
Wow. He could have done Pony Boy, I think.
I think he could have pulled it off.
I think so too. I could see him as that. Even though C. Thomas Howell did a really great job with it, but I could see him.
Oh
yeah. Yeah, it's still. I mean, it was a very matter of fact kind of way that it was played, and I could see Anthony Michael Hall pulling that off.
Yeah, I always loved him in Weird Science too. I'm glad somebody brought that up in the Twitter shoutouts because Weird Science really is. It's he he was such a he was the main. I would say him and Wyatt were the main characters, obviously, and then Kelly LeBrock. But he just had so many great one-liners in that movie. It's hysterical. So yeah, just a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I love the scene where they're working out the size of her breasts.
Yeah, anything more than a handful, you're risking a sprained thumb.
Sorry, Rose.
Hey, did you see the?
That's okay. I had you guys muted.
Oh.
No, I had
Where
muted. Actually.
did you see the little bit of trivia that all of the characters played by Anthony in the John Hughes films were actually based on Hughes himself?
I did see that.
Really?
Yes.
That's really a cool idea too. I mean, think about from Anthony Michael Hall's point of view, being picked as one of the guys that really represents Hughes as he was growing up. I think that's pretty neat. That's kind of a little extra bonus.
Well, and that's kind of John Hughes then admitting that he was the introvert, geeky kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's take that back. Not introverted, because that's not what the Anthony Michael Hall character was in any of those movies.
No.
Yeah, he wasn't
Awkward,
introverted.
maybe.
I just had the image of the scene in The Breakfast Club when he's talking to himself with the pen stuck to his. He's got the clip of the pen on his lip, and he's just talking to himself. I'm like, wow, I've been there. And somebody else is just watching him. I'm like, I bet people watched me do stupid stuff like that too. He was so relatable, that character, to me. And and I've said before that I felt like I was Bender and Allie, but I did feel like kind of the geek too, because there was a time in my high school days that I was kind of nerding out, and I was into computers and that kind of thing. So I relate to his character too. It was definitely like we talked about with Emilio. I did not relate to Sporto or the athlete or Molly Ringwald. So anyway, we can just take that for what it is.
All right, so do you guys have I don't know, final thoughts on Mr. Anthony Michael Hall in the 80s?
I do, but if you want to go first, Scott, you can.
Okay, so the movie Johnny Be Good was not a very popular movie, but I kind of liked it, and I was a very big fan of a certain group, which was Judas Priest, and they actually did the remake of the song Johnny Be Good, and they really rocked it out. And so
Nice.
we recently talked about that on Mixtape, the album that actually showed up on from Judas Priest called Ram It Down, which was I steered away from it for a while from Judas Priest because they released one album that just turned me off, and then this album came out with some other great songs, and then Johnny Be Good, and I kind of appreciate them a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that, but then I gotta say, the next movie after that, which is in 1990, Norm the Gnome, was it was horrendous.
Wow.
It was a rough one.
Was that animated?
It was no. It had
dear.
like a gnome that was like almost a puppet.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it was weird. It was really weird.
I'm not familiar with that one at all.
Yeah,
God,
it's
me neither.
very you don't need to really just let it go.
But Johnny Be Good though, it's amazing to have you bring that one up. I mean, you like that movie?
I did actually. I was I kind of like football.
Okay.
So kind of cool. I related the football part of it. It was, I think, for my age, and there were some risque parts of it that were probably attractive for a young man like that. I believe there were some topless ladies in there that for a 17 or whatever year it was, what was it, 20, 19, 20. So, yeah. Anyway.
Well, I
Wow.
thought Robert Downey Jr. was just so completely weird in that movie, and that's what kind of turned me off. But what I liked the fact is that his coach was Paul Cleason,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
who is the
The
principal.
principal.
Yeah, the principal in
Yeah.
Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had some good roles back then. Mr. Gleason did.
Yes. Okay, so Rose, what about you?
Well, I'm gonna shove time forward just a smidge, only because a lot of the movies that started to pique my interest and unfortunately involve Mr. Anthony Michael Hall at that time. However, he ended up doing a series, Dead Zone, based off the Stephen King book novel, and I loved the movie with Christopher Walken. But then I gave the series a shot, and I was just shocked at how excellent his acting skills were and how well he played, the main character. I was thoroughly impressed. So it was kind of like, I got to appreciate him all over again. And then recently in the last couple of years, he did a guest cameo spot on a show called Psych. I don't know if you two are familiar with that one or not, but
Yeah, it's pretty. It's entertaining show. It's funny.
yeah. So
Funny.
he plays this absolute Jack Smurf he's like what do you call it? He's standing in chief police for Santa Barbara police station, and he's trying to bend everybody into his will, and he's he's a piece of work. I'm telling you, he does such a great job. It's just, to go back and watch it after seeing it the first time and then just revisiting it just recently, I thought, oh my God, yeah, there's that satire and sarcastic wit that he's known for. If you could just close your eyes and imagine him like 6 inches shorter, so, it was pretty good just to be able to see him, because you don't get to see a lot of the older 80s people anymore. Every so often. And Ali Sheedy was in that as well. She had a really compelling role in that series for a few episodes. So I like it when they come back. And you know how sometimes when actors have done stuff and they come back and they reprise their role as so-and-so or this person or this character, and you're kind of like, oh yeah, that's so funny, or that's very heartwarming. They were like total opposite. They didn't even go in that direction, which I thought that's awesome, because I guess they felt like, well, I'm going to stretch this in case somebody else wants to call me to do something. So, but yeah, but all around, I mean, he's a great actor, and I'm actually glad we have him as part of our 80s archives to pay respects to him.
Yeah, I think he's so different now than the way he was back then, but in a good way.
Yeah, I think puberty probably had a lot to do with
that. Yeah, and if you read some of his information, rehab had a lot to do with it too.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah.
Another Andrew?
Is
he Andrew McCarthy?
What? Oh, is that what happened too? He got too involved with the booze. He liked the booze. That was when he was with the Saturday Night Live for a year, and then he left the series because he was struggling with that addiction, and glad to hear that he bounced back and that he was able to overcome that, and he has, according to the IMDb, he hasn't had a drink since 1990. So
that's awesome.
Congratulations to him.
Yes, definitely.
And he made a huge comeback with the Dead Zone. I think that was his. I think that's been his highlight in the last 20 years or so. And I've only seen a couple of episodes. I never got into it. I mean, I was a fan of the movie and the book, but I've heard a lot of people that watched that show, The Dead Zone, with him for the 5 years that it was on. They just loved it to death. They followed it very, very closely. So
Yeah.
I'd like to see some of his more recent stuff too.
Yeah.
I actually watch a TV show occasionally called Z Nation, which is I think it's a Netflix series, but it's a TV series, and he's in that apparently. I didn't know that. I'm not caught up that far yet. Not caught up to that. So anyway, I'd like to see him do some comedy again. A lot of his stuff has been very serious in the last 15 years. I'd like to see him do some comedy again.
All right. Well, you've got your marching orders, Mr. Anthony Michael Hall from Scott.
Do some comedy again. He was very funny. I just think why not go for it?
So I actually saved the monologue for our final Breakfast Club episode. And since Brian Johnson was the writer, I've got to throw it in here. So, dear Mr. Southgate, we accept the fact that we had to sacrifice a whole podcast in detention for whatever it is that we did wrong. But we think you're crazy for making us write an essay telling you who we think we are. You see us as you want to see us, in the simplest terms, in the most convenient definitions. But what we found out is that each one of us is a brain, an athlete, a basket case, a princess, and a criminal. Does that answer your question? Sincerely yours, the 80s Reboot Overdrive team.
Nice.
That was awesome. I love it.
Dude, I have the
I feel like a
chills
part of
right
movie history now.
I swear, I have the chills right now. You gave me the chills with that. That's awesome.
I had to save that for the final one of our 80s icon for the Breakfast Club.
So cool. Do you still have the picture that I sent you of my friend and her son wearing that shirt?
I will have to dig that out, but I'm pretty sure I do.
I'll send it to you again.
Okay.
Because if we could add that, into the mix, that would be awesome. Because I've never known anybody to actually have a T-shirt that had that on it. I thought that was like the coolest thing ever.
Very cool. All right, so social media credentials. Mr. Scott, start us off.
I am on Twitter at 80s Auto Reverse, and also on Twitter at Scott's Eye. And then you can find me on Facebook at there we go with the at 80s Mixtape Auto Reverse Facebook page. Just look it up. You'll find it. That's one way to find me.
All right, what about you, Rose?
Actually, I thought I was muted this whole time, and I wasn't. Oops. You can edit that, right? Anyway.
We'll find out if we can.
At 80s Music Girl on Twitter, and at 80s Music Girl on Instagram, and then 80s Music Girl on my Facebook fan page. And you know what I forgot to do all this time we've been talking? I forgot to give a reference to the 16 Cannibals.
16 Cannibals!
Nice. You brought that back up. Thank you very much.
I did. I was going to finish out the series with something clever to say, and then it just totally, just totally left my brain.
I totally forgot about it, too.
That's okay.
That's what happens when we had that long break in between. So.
Yeah.
We lost our humor.
The ongoing joke. Maybe we got to go back to the archives and start picking on Valley Girl.
Ooh.
Oh, speaking of Valley Girl.
Uh-oh.
Guys, and don't worry, she's not on it. Did you guys see that thing I posted on my page about the Razzies?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Because they had one. They have two. They have one. It's the worst of the decade, and then they have the worst 80s movies of the decade. So I thought that would be something interesting to talk about. Sorry, Dave.
Not a problem.
The duck is on there.
Yeah, let's wrap this up real quick. My name is Dave. Social media, I take care of our 80s Reboot Overdrive accounts. So that's Twitter at 80s Reboot. Tumblr is 80sreboot.tumblr.com. Facebook is facebook.com/80s reboot. If you want to check out our blog, that's southgatemediagroup.com/80s reboot blog. I know I'm forgetting something. I've got to write this down.
Email?
Email at 80sreboot@gmail.com. Anything else?
No?
Nope. All right. Okay, cool. Well, we appreciate everybody reliving the 80s with us, and have a good night.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
We hope you've enjoyed this show. This podcast is part of the 80s Reboot Overdrive channel on Southgate Media Group. You can follow us on Facebook on the 80s Reboot group page. We're also on Twitter and Tumblr at 80s Reboot. We invite you to check out all the wonderful podcasts and blogs available at southgatemediagroup.com. And thank you for reliving the 80s.
Hey, can we jump
Okay.
topics real quick over to that post that you were talking about with the raspberries, the Razzies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found probably one of the worst movies of the 80s that I've ever seen, and I watched about a good 20 minutes of it just a couple nights ago after you posted that. And I was just bopping around on those, one list leads to another. And I came across this movie with Pia Zadora.
Lonely Lady?
Called Voyage of the Rock Aliens.
Are you kidding?
Oh my God. It is horrendously awesome.
Lordy.
I'm telling you, go.
And we lost Scott.
One of those.
Wow.
There we go. Okay, he's back.
Okay, he's back.
What, did I lose? Did I drop off?
It dropped
for a second. Off for a second.
Okay, what?
Jinx, let me go.
So, what did you miss?
Oh, you said it was just horrendously horrible.
Oh, it was horrendously awesome.
Oh, horrendously awesome.
It's so bad. It's so bad. It's awesome. It makes Howard the Duck look like Full Metal Jacket. I mean,
jeez.
I am not kidding it. Now this really would be a great topic for a podcast. Is like the worst, cheesiest 80s movies that we could come up with,
So what would be the topic then? Would it be the worst three movies, like we did the top three? Or would it be we watch a movie and then we come back and talk about it?
Now, see, I really like that idea too. But then you have movies on that list. If we go by that list, then we have to watch Bolero.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We can't talk about Bolero on this show. It's not.
Well, I need a lot of time to defend Howard.
You do.
No, you know what?
Need a lot of time to defend him.
I've been joking with you a lot about Howard the Duck, but I actually really did like the movie. I love the movie. It's one of my. It's still very dear to me, even though it's really cheesy and kind of goofy. You know how I like that kind of movie. So.
Well, this is true. This is coming from Mr. Star Wars Holiday Special.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Ding 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 ding. You're absolutely right.
Dave.
Yeah.
I have no confession on that level, just so you know. Still hating it.
Still hating Howard, huh?
Yeah. Just saying.
Leia Thompson rocks.
I'm not a dude.
That's a good point.
She may rock, but I'm not a 12-year-old boy.
That's a good point. Good point. All right.
So I was, this was back probably a couple months back. I was trying to find Howard the Duck on YouTube. Well, I came across one that was kind of like a Mystery Science 3000 version of it. It wasn't. But no, it wasn't them. It was just three doofuses ripping on the movie as it went on, and they were pretty crude too. A lot of language going on there, but it was still kind of funny to hear them lay into it the way they did, and you think about it, it's kind of goofy, but so I don't know. I don't know if I could ever find that again, but Back to Voyage of the Rock Aliens, man. Check it out.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. Pia Zadora. Oh, it's
So then,
so
what do you guys
bad.
want to do? Do you want to do a worst of the 80s episode?
Yeah, why not? I'm down. I
So
mean, but
like,
I
that's
could
just
do
me.
that.
so kind of like our, I guess, worst 3 80s movies.
Mm-hmm.
That you're willing to admit that you watched.
Okay.
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 Okay. I'll have to go through the archives then.
So it's not a guilty pleasure movie. It's a
No, it's like it's so
the
bad.
you're like, it's so bad. I can't believe I watched it, but here I'm going to talk about it now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well,
This
yeah,
this
okay.
one's gonna take a little research. I mean, other than this Voyage of the Rock Aliens, which I am gonna finish. Actually, I have to watch the rest of it. I can't help myself. I gotta see what happens.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I just thought of one that would add. Well, is it a bad movie or is it a guilty pleasure? That's going to
Yeah.
be the tough part for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Howard the Duck, that's a guilty pleasure, right? For you, Dave?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I
And
have
you
another
can't-
one. I have
can't-
another one in mind, and I don't want to like ruin it. I'd rather wait.
I don't think it constitutes a bad movie if you've seen it more than once.
Yeah, but the one I'm thinking of now is I think I've just seen once. I'm almost sure I've just seen it just once, but it's one of those that I wouldn't mind go back and rewatching. So I don't know if that qualifies itself as a bad movie.
Well, if you're doing it for research, then
Yeah.
research purposes.
Yeah, research purposes. That adds a whole new thing to it.